Yo, I am making this video for clients that are unfamiliar with editing software that work directly with editors, upon which the main reason for making this is to bridge the technicality between the two. The second underlying reason is for producers that work in between the client notes and the editor's needs, at least for what it's worth. Before I continue, I do not speak for all editors, but I do speak for the many that share a common miscommunication issue. Clients should understand 2 to 3 words of terminology when conversing with an editor. The timecode, our screenshot, or reference frame. Third is a bonus. Annotations. Timecodes down to the frame are 1,000 times more helpful than what you see on screen. These notes from a colleague of mine are non-specific, hence this video being made. All of these 2-quadrant timestamps give editors a very non-specific sense of where to look. Plus there's no screenshots associated with any of them. So directing your attention to our 4-quadrant timecode. Editors read these 8 digits as such: hours, minutes, seconds, frames. Other peeps may communicate slightly different nomenclature. And then, as simple as this breakdown may seem, I guarantee you someone somewhere down the editorial pipeline will still ask what the this layout even means with the letter indications. Because personally, I like reading it out like this rather than the standard readout. That now being established, think of this as another way to tell time, but from an editor's perspective. This is a sundial. This is an hourglass, this is analog, this is digital, this is 24-hour time, and this is an editor's timecode. The format is similar to a standard digital clock, but adds 2 more quadrants to it. Once you understand how to read an editor's timecode, attach a screenshot or reference frame to it. The editor will then know the exact shot at the exact timing you referenced when they start looking through their timeline. I would also like to point out that different frame rates will result in the frame quadrant having a number that ranges from 24 FPS to 60 FPS or higher. If you are the client, I also need to preface one other thing about a timecode. If you just give an editor these 3 to 4 digit timestamps as the reference, this can easily be misread from any of these 3 quadrants. That being said, iMovie should be a pre-installed app on all Mac computers, does not offer a timecode. VLC Player, which is typically not pre-installed on computers, does not offer an editor's timecode. Windows Media Player, both the version from 1990 and as of 2021, maybe a bit earlier, does not offer an editor's timecode either. QuickTime Player, also known as Qt Player, will only offer an editor's timecode if you embed a timecode into the export from an editing software, which is actually acceptable for the purpose of this video, which I will touch on later. While I'm on the topic of media players, most peeps will call this a timestamp. In editing software, this is called a timecode. And if you're talking to someone who's worked in broadcasting or TV production or something similar, they may also refer to it as an SMPTE timecode, which stands for what you see on screen, pronounced SMPTE if you were to verbally say it. And then if you ask ChatGPT which media players offer an editor's timecode, it tends to refer to this as a frame precision feature or frame level precision feature, and that'll be it for the nomenclature of it all. Every other media player I've gone through as of the time of me asking ChatGPT which ones do offer frame precision timestamps do not actually offer frame precision timecodes, to my disappointment. Instead, it just shows a triple-digit number that probably represents milliseconds, if I had to guess. Milliseconds does not represent frames. I would then learn that these media players won't truly display frame precision timecodes simply because they're not exactly designed to interpret frames in any particular fashion, let alone that the frame rate is along the lines of 23.976, 29.97, 59.94, and so on. Here's what that looks like. The only case that this triple-digit number would make sense is if the frame rate of your footage was shot in 100 FPS or above, which is just borderline slow motion. Last note, I went through all of these. Some of them only work on Windows, Some of them only work on Mac. As far as I threaded through, none of them offered frame precision timecodes. By the time this video is posted, maybe that will still remain the case. Maybe I just wasn't looking in the right places or configuring the software correctly to my needs. Or if I'm just full of shit. Upon researching this communication issue between a client who is not tech savvy and a competent editor, you may file an insult into the void of the comment section and I will get back to you in X business days. Moving on, you may skip over this. This video does have chapters. The second reason for pointing all this out is because an editor that's been editing for years on end will have a timeline that looks like this. This is what a full-feature movie or documentary timeline looks like, a runtime of 1 hour and 30 minutes, or way more. And this is probably what a beginning student filmmaker's rough draft will look like when they first start learning editing software. The only platform that exists that I'm aware of, upon which is only online accessible, that allows a client to editor interaction to be seamless is frame.io, upon which shows an editor's timecode and has like 1 to 2 tutorials showing an overview of how it works, and is free with very specific limitations. But I'm not going to go over frame.io in its entirety because all uploads that exist for its proof of testament already fill in the gaps. If frame.io is inaccessible for reasons beyond having an internet connection, there are 2 alternatives that I'm just going to throw into here. One is less involved than the other. This one's for the editors. Option 1. Burn the timecode into the video. You can do this in Premiere, you can do this in AMC, you can do this in Resolve, you can do it in Final Cut. I have no idea if you can do it in CapCut. I will only cover Resolve in this. In Resolve, go to Workspace. Go to Data Burn-In. Check the box record timecode. FYI, source timecode and record timecode are 2 very different things for 2 very different scenarios. Go ahead and make your adjustments. Export the video with this overlaid on it, and all the client has to do is 2 to 3 things when they watch it down. Screenshot the shot in question. Maybe draw some annotations through their default photo app. If you have to walk them through that, walk them through it. Or I'll just do it. Open file location. Open video. Let video play. Do your screenshot. On Windows, if the screenshot doesn't pop up right away, just click the notice icon right here and open the screenshot. FYI, the application I'm using for annotations is called Snip and Sketch on Windows. Then, annotation tools are up here. This is on 10 pixels, I'll leave it as such. And then I can circle things, I can point to things, and then I can go and copy it. I can open up Paint, paste that in there, and then you can use your text tool right up here. It may take a bit of getting used to, but it's there. You can put the text anywhere on here as such, or I would just, it's adequate enough to just put your instructions under the image in your email back to the editor or the client, and that's how I would do this. Alternatively, they can use this website, ExcaLidraw, which is free, mind you. It's only accessible online, but I'm just pointing it out as an honorable mention because it does not require an account to be made. You just click the link to it and start drawing. Whatever notes they have, they can put below the screenshot in the email. Please include the in and out timecodes. Hit send, repeat until done. And then for those of you that are on a Mac, you can just use the Preview app and do all your annotations that way. I do not own a Mac as of the time of me uploading this. There are plenty of tutorials that will show you how to use it. Option 2, QuickTime Player for the client Mac user. Editor exports video with timecode embedded but not burned into the video. Leaving this to same as project will simply mean that the timecode will be overlaid, but if you set it to none, the overlay will be removed, but the timecode will still remain internal to the file. Client receives file and plays it back to QuickTime Player. The timecode should look like this. You can also move this around. Emphasize client to screenshot the frame with the timecode displayed and proceed with instructions. Reminder, option 2 favors the Mac user. A person on a Windows OS will need to receive an MOV codec file. In order for QuickTime Player on Windows to display timecode with the frame quadrant included, or maybe I'm full of shit and I could not figure out how to get the frame quadrant to show up to display on my timecode through the Windows OS. Option 3. Download DaVinci. It's slightly overkill, but the client only needs to learn 4 things. How to open a file inside it and watch it down, how to reference the timecode when you find the shot in question, how to annotate on screen for precision notes, how to screenshot. This will require the client to register an email and fill in basic paperwork info that is a minor nuisance to getting the software on their computer, and then you have to actually install the software using the setup wizard, which is something every software package has. Now that you have Resolve downloaded, let's walk the client through the setup. Now with DaVinci open, I would like to note something. The frame rate by default for any beginning project will be 24 FPS. The file I'm going to drag in is 60 FPS. More on that later. Double click to open the Untitled project. You will start out in the Cut tab down here. Go to the Edit tab, and then you want to drag your clips into this panel. Here are all my clips. Oop, wrong one. I want this one. So I will drag and drop. And then the frame rate of the file I dragged in is 60 FPS, so it will pop up with this. Just click change and it will change the project frame rate to 60 FPS to match the file. And now that we have our file in here, if you want to double check the frame rate of the file, you can click the info button right here. And that will say 60 FPS right there. And if you are in list mode, you can slide this a bit ways, and then you'll see the 60 FPS right there. So you can click and drag this into the timeline as such, and it will populate. And then yeah, you can go and just scrub as you see fit. Otherwise, right click that, and then we can just do create new timeline using selected clips, and then you can name it whatever you want. Hit create, and then that will populate as such. I will jump to 10 seconds, go to here, change transform to Annotations. And then your mouse will now switch to a pen or a marker. You can change the color of the annotations. You can box over something. You can draw a line. You can point to something specific. You can change to the freeform drawing tool and interchange between the 3 thicknesses. And then yeah, that's how you annotate. You can just screenshot that, paste it into the email, and then put your instructions. Please include a timecode as well. If you really want to go the extra mile, you can go into the FX. Text and Text Plus offer different features, but for the sake of the client, just drag the one that says basic title into the timeline. And then just drag that right in there. And then the only thing I hope you turn on upon adjusting the parameters for the text is the drop shadow. Please, for the love of God, leave a drop shadow on the text. That background feature will do as well. Forgot to mention that when you annotate, a marker will spawn into the timeline. So when you go to that marker, it will only be on that frame. To switch the marker out, hold Alt or Option and drag the other half of the marker to the extent of the clip. Is this the shot in question? Screenshot that as such. It is not necessary to put it in full screen. Slap the screenshot in the email. Now go to the end point or start point of the shot. Copy and paste the timecode from the timeline into the email. Switch back to Resolve again. Copy and paste the end point or out point of the shot into the email again. Give your description, instructions, hit send. This is the 3-step process of communication. Screenshot, timecodes, instructions, repeat until the video's done.